Well, today I'm in Monroe County and we're just outside Tannersville, which to me typically I think of shopping outlets, but nothing to do with that today. We're here to meet Roger Spots.
Nice to meet you, Paul.
Roger's with the Conservation District here in Monroe County, and we're going to do what?
We're going to take a look at the Tannersville Cranberry Bog, one of the most unique areas in the Poconos. Can't wait to show it to you.
This way?
Let's go. Well, this bog is classified as a boreal bog, and boreal means northern. But the history behind it is very simple. A glacier during the last ice age, which occurred here 15, 20,000 years ago, covered this entire area and dug a big hole. When the glacier melted, the hole was full of water, so 13,000 years ago there's a big lake here. But then plants started to grow around the outside edge of it. And one of those plants is sphagnum moss, which actually floated out on top of the water. And then every year when it would get cold, the sphagnum would die and sink to the bottom. So after 13,000 years, what you have is you have a hole full of water and dead plants, which sphagnum, when it dies and sinks into the bog, forms peat moss.
You know, peat moss has been used by gardeners for generations, though, but it's having to destroy habitats like this, it's seen as like a no-no now. So we look for other forms of organic material to add to our soils.
Yeah, anytime you buy peat moss, you're taking it out of a bog. It's the only place to get it. So fortunately in Pennsylvania they are now all protected, but in other parts of the world they're still mining peat.
Yeah, now we're getting more open now. So this is all the sphagnum moss?
Yep, all the green moss on top is considered sphagnum.
So here, how far down do you think?
Well, the core samples tell us that in the middle it's 60 feet deep, and we're getting close to that, so we're probably 45 to 50 feet of peat here.
And you wouldn't know, would you? You'd have no idea. Look at that. Do you mind if I just have a little look?
No, go. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be...
Just a little bit.
It might be a little frozen this morning.
Yeah, it is. There's a little bit of frost on that one.
And it does freeze in the wintertime.
Yeah, look at that. So if you're building a town, you've really got to preserve some of the wetland areas around to soak up all that runoff. Because it is a giant sponge, really.
It's a huge sponge. Now, here are cranberries. Now, I'm red-green colorblind, so I have a hard time seeing it. But
I'm no help. I've got
see the berries in there?
Oh, yeah.
This is the cranberry plant, the vine right here.
Wow.
These are all cranberry vines, and these are the berries.
Can I have can we pick one?
Sure.
No, we obviously don't encourage it, but for television purposes. Yeah, like you could easily just walk right by that. Look at that. I'm going to grab that little one down there because he's a little redder. Here we go. Look at that. That looks like a cranberry, doesn't it?
It definitely does.
Looks like a cranberry. Smells like a cranberry, and tastes like a cranberry.
Pretty tart.
Which is pretty tart. All right, what's the chance of finding a pitcher plant?
Oh, they're right here. And here's another one, a little bit bigger.
Wow.
This is a little
look at this one.
They got ice in them this morning, but they're turning red because when it gets in fall, they'll start to turn red. In the winter, summer, they're more green. Those are all pitcher plants. That plant out there is all bog rosemary.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not, it looks like rosemary, but it's not in the spice family.
And just to tell people, I mean, you've got all these plants coming up. So how do the plants get here?
Originally, a lot of the seeds and spores were trapped in the ice of the glacier. And when the glacier melted and they fell out, that's how we get Canadian plants in Pennsylvania. The glacier carried the seeds down.
So we have New York rock and Canadian plants.
Yep, pretty unique.
Well, I have to say, I love some of these combinations. This is that black spruce.
Black spruce, yes.
And this obviously is some kind of blueberry of some sort.
Yeah, there's a large amount of high bush blueberry, and they'll get 6-8 feet high, and of course they produce some beautiful sweet blueberries in July.
And a wonderful full color, look at that.
Yeah, they turn beautifully red, and the bears, of course, in July, they love them because they love those blueberries.
Now look at this. I don't know what these are, these little tufts of white.
That's actually something called cotton grass, and the little tufts of white look like cotton balls. Those are the seeds, but it's actually a sedge, which is, again, those wetland kinds of plants that really grow well in this wet environment.
Now, another tree there which we haven't talked about, I'm looking at one in front of me, and that looks to me like a larch, yeah?
It is a larch, an American larch, also called a tamarack. And here in October, you can see some yellow starting to show up on the needles. And it's a really interesting tree because all its needles will turn yellow and fall off like a leaf on a maple tree. And then next year it will grow new needles.
Can you talk about the lichen on it? Because often we get, it's one of the things that people say, oh, my tree looks, they've had a problem with a tree and suddenly the leaves drop or needles drop and they see all this stuff and they blame this stuff for killing it.
Right, and that doesn't do anything to it. These are boreal lichens as well. Actually, a scientist came in here and identified over 100 species of lichens.
Seriously?
And they grow on the trunks of the trees, they grow on the branches, and they're just a plant that is green, it has algae in it, but it also is combined with a fungus to absorb water. So it's a really cool relationship, but it doesn't harm the plant that it's growing on at all. From a wildlife standpoint, there are numerous species. The birds are very diverse in the species. We have raptors, we have owls, and then in the spring when migration takes place, we have a number of different warblers and everything that live here. And then from a mammal standpoint, of course, this is prime black bear habitat. And we have bobcats, we have fishers, there are coyotes here, and then your typical small mammal population as well. And because it's a wetland, you have some amphibians you throw in too, some salamanders and frogs, things like that. Once you get through this living sphagnum mat layer, there's really
There's no stopping
nothing
it.
solid underneath it. And probably as much as 30 feet where we're standing right now. You could go down, and on the bottom you would hit the rocks and the gravel. And all it is, the stuff that's down there, is the peat moss.
Huh.
Yeah, anything that falls in and sinks underneath it gets trapped there, so to speak. It doesn't release it, it doesn't decompose. So there are literally tons and tons of carbon material buried in this bog. This bog is only 150 acres, so it's a rather small area that's getting trapped. But you have bogs in northern environments in Canada that literally total thousands and hundreds of thousands of acres.
Gotcha. Look how much of a sponge that is.
Yeah, and you can even smell the methane and sulfur smell from it. Yep.
Well, that was an absolute brilliant visit to the Cranberry Bog. Now, the Monroe County Conservation District has a wonderful education center. Kettle Creek is its name, and we're visiting that when we come back.